This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design. Kiwi is the leader in Oculus Quest and VR accessories. And now, you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast.
The Oculus Quest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever find things could be a bit more comfortable, maybe a little safer? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and so much more.
And let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. You don't want to be that guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes now to prepare yourself today.
And you don't need to sacrifice comfort for cost either. Kiwi is constantly running promotions of 20, 25, and even 30% off.
Just visit the link in our show notes and use the promo code on their website to take full advantage of your savings. And be sure to follow the link in our show notes so we get credit and you help support the podcast. And remember, Kiwi has you covered for all your VR needs. This podcast is brought to you today by Zencastr, the company we choose to use for our interviews.
I remember that first interview we had and the stress that we went through trying to find a platform that we were going to host this on.
That's where Zencastr came in. With HD video recording and studio sound quality, we were able to connect seamlessly with guests all over the world.
I love the fact that it's as easy as sending our guests a link, they click on it, and they're connected.
With automatic post-production, secured cloud backup, and automated transcripts, Zencastr is the perfect solution for any remote podcast. If you want to make remote podcasting easy,
make sure you go to zencastr.com/pricing and enter the promo code Ruff Talk VR, and you'll save 30% off your first 3 months.
That's zencastr.com/pricing, promo code Ruff Talk VR. It's your time to share your story. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined with one that I'm
excited.
I'm stoked for this. Who doesn't love Blade and Sorcery, right? It's a game that launched with a bunch of hype, and today we're getting to talk with the community manager, the Baron. So, my friend, do you mind to introduce yourself a little bit to our guests? And in case somehow they don't know what Blade and Sorcery Nomad is on the Oculus Quest, can you tell us a little bit about what the game is?
Yes, thanks a million for having me. I'm the Baron. Most people would know me as a community manager of Blade and Sorcery. I'm also the producer of the game. And Blade and Sorcery is a fantasy physics sandbox game that's available for Steam and Oculus. And then we just recently launched the Quest standalone version called Nomad. So we had a big load of fans who were really excited about that because people have been dying to get the game on a Quest for years now. So that's been really exciting.
So I'm gonna jump right into some stuff right here. It's one of the most successful games in the Oculus store right now, I believe. And
yeah,
I was looking back at when we reviewed it, which wasn't that long ago. The ratings for the game have absolutely skyrocketed. So I mean, everybody seems to be. I can't go into Reddit without seeing a shit ton of Blade and Sorcery stuff. So what were there was a lot of like hype for the game. There was a lot of people saying, I believe on Reddit, that it's never going to come to the Oculus. You can't do it. It's not powerful enough.
Yeah.
What were the biggest challenges that you might be aware of actually getting that game ported over to the Oculus set?
Yeah. Oh man, it was madness. By the way, I just wanted to tell you guys, I listened to that review you guys did, and I thought it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it, because I really enjoyed that. It wasn't even just a review of the game. You guys really went into some real good, juicy detail about Blade and Sorcery as like a philosophy too, which I really enjoyed. But anyway, I digress. But for the port, so for years and years, we were saying to people, this isn't going to happen because it was just too crazy. And then I don't know if you guys remember, this is kind of old history now, but we had an update, U8, and the game had, on PC, it had gotten significantly bigger, but it suffered major performance problems. And it required that we kind of returned to the drawing board on some of the systems, especially the characters, and redo them. And it was a pain. It was really, really unfortunate. We got kind of badly review bombed around then, and it took about 6 months, but then finally, along came U9, and the performance was majorly improved. And so that was like, oh, this is nice. Then when it came to doing dungeons, which was U10, the performance was working so well, and we'd managed to get dungeons up and running, that it was kind of like, maybe this will be possible on the Quest. So we still didn't say anything because we didn't want to hype anyone up for no reason, or make promises we couldn't keep. So we kept telling people, no, look, just don't even think about the Quest. So then anyway, when it came to doing the tests on the Quest, we found out the original Quest 1, it was literally impossible. Like, it was, the game would be so watered down that it just wasn't even worth doing. Do you know what I mean? So what changed there was when we realized, well, what if we just don't do the Quest? What if we do Quest 2 and just skip right over the Quest? Which sucks for, Quest 1 players, but that was truly the only way to do it. So we started looking at the Quest 2, and it was like, God, this might be possible. We're definitely getting frame hits, but there's something that could be workable here. You know what I mean? And so that was another big piece of the puzzle. And the final piece of the puzzle was, we had to look at it and we had to say, okay, well, if we flatten out Blade and Sorcery so that it works in the Quest, man, you're going to piss off a whole lot of PC VR fans. And not just that, but that sucks, because it's like the PC is, it's my first love, and you would just be losing so much, so we didn't like that idea, and we weren't willing to do that idea. So then, we had a lot of conversation about it. I was like, well, what if we split this? What if this is a separate game? And it was just kind of like, when we realized we could do it, it was like, well, can we do this without hurting the PC roadmap? Can we do this without adding development time? What is the Quest game going to look like? Is it still going to be a worthy enough game for Quest players to play? It's not the same as PC VR, but it will it be a good game for the Quest? And that's how it kind of came about. So that was it. That was all the jigsaw pieces. So we're like, fuck it, let's split this as a new game. It'll be a sister title. It's going to follow the PC VR roadmap as closely as it can, but no promises, because we don't want to screw over the PC players in any way. So, we're not nerfing anything in the PC development. And yeah, we just did it. And then it was like, we just thought it would be funny then to launch it without, no bells and whistles. So we had the PC U10 coming up, and, we were really adamant that we were like, okay, look, we don't want to announce Nomad while U10 is just about to come out, because first of all, the PC players are hyped, so we don't want to take the wind out of anyone's sails with this, another announcement. So we're like, let's launch U10, we'll make sure it works good, make sure that everyone is happy, and if everyone is happy, then we'll launch Nomad really close after it, and people will be like, what the hell? And that's exactly what happened. It was so great. Launched U10 on PC, players were really loving dungeons and stuff, everyone was happy, and I was like, okay, well, more good news, Quest players can now jump in. And guess what? There's dungeons in the Quest too, and that was just great. And then we dropped the trailer, and then it was like, by the way, it's also out next week. That was great.
Yeah, no, I was going to comment on that. You guys did that great with Facebook Connect.
Yeah.
Nobody believed that this was going to happen. Then boom, you dropped the trailer.
The arguments were real. That there's no way. I mean, people had some. We talked about it on the review. I think that the passion that the people had to say it couldn't be done just in itself, and then boom, it came out of, here it comes.
Yeah, we just thought that'd be so funny. And I mean, anyone who was saying it would not be possible, cannot blame them at all, because I mean, for 3 years I was saying that. Yeah. Our Twitter was just if you look at my Twitter inbox, it's just 20 messages a day. It's just coming to Quest. It's just coming to Quest. Am I saying a copy and paste answer? Which, by the way, this was crazy to me. Did you guys notice that about a week before Nomad dropped, there was someone posted a Reddit thing, and it was like, hey, I talked to someone on Twitter, and they said that it may be possible to come to Quest. And then all these rumors start going on about the Quest version. I tell you something, that was a complete coincidence, because I've been using that copy-paste answer for 3 years. So I don't know. It's just an amazing coincidence that around the time we really were launching the Quest, that this rando on Reddit posted about it, and then his prediction came true. Pure coincidence that was, but what an amazing timing.
No, that's awesome. So once you guys made the decision that, all right, we're going to go Quest 2, we're going to do this, how long did it take? Was it 6 months?
Let me see. Yeah, it was about that. Yeah, it was about six. I actually kind of forget. It was at least 6 months though, because it also had a pretty lengthy Oculus QA period. So the way there's there's games on the Quest, and then there's App Lab. You know those guys. You know that kind of service.
We're big fans of App Lab, but unfortunately, you get kind of limited on visibility. That's kind of why we're so vocal on it.
100%, and it completely sucks because it's just real great games on there. Just games that are like from developers who are friends of ours.
Some of the best games on the store.
Yeah.
Totally.
They're store-worthy games, and they're stuck.
Totally. But there you go. That's the problem. So the problem is that Oculus are pretty choosy about the games that come on Quest, and they go through because they put a ton into their QA. So like there was a team, like you know what I mean, working on like an Oculus team working on Blade and Sorcery for I can't remember how long it was now, but it was like months, and you know every day like this full team are just like doing QA on it. It's crazy, like. But I guess that's why Oculus are so kind of picky about what goes on Quest and what goes on App Lab, because App Lab doesn't have that, so it's kind of like more as is kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, the whole App Lab situation we've talked in almost every episode. It's heartbreaking because every game we review from App Lab is a store-worthy game that is worth every penny. But you know, some of them do get the jump, and they, you know, it just. I don't know. We always say it would just be easier if there was a button people could find these games easier than word of mouth.
Yeah.
And no giant warnings when you click on the app.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's gonna destroy your machine.
Yeah, like you're gonna get a virus.
I know it's like I really like App Lab, and the only thing I would want to change about it is just make it more visible. That's it.
Yep.
Just so that it's not as hidden, buried. You know, you can't search them in the store, and it's just specifically looking for them. And I definitely feel bad for people who are kind of grappling the App Lab situation.
Yeah, it can. The struggle's real. When but regardless, I'm shocked that you guys actually had to jump through I guess they're consistent with everybody, meaning Oculus. But you know I would say there's hype. There's a cult following to the game. I mean, I'll just say it as it is. It's like people are very passionate, especially the PC players.
Definitely.
So I would think,
and I mean, I'm sure Oculus were probably looking at it too. Like the market is there because you know what I mean. Like everyone is asking for it all the time. Is it coming to Quest? Is it coming to Quest? Coming to Quest? So they probably just saw it that way too. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
So what's the reception and the growth been for you guys since you launched on the Quest? You guys you spoke on being very careful to not upset your diehard PC VR fan base. So have you overall kept them happy? Have you seen a huge influx of new people to your subreddit, your Discords? What's their growth been like?
Man,
and has it been mostly positive or a little mixed?
Definitely mostly positive. So for PC, overall PC players are exact same as they were. I think very happy. I think overwhelmingly there was happiness that we split the games. That's the first big one.
Yeah, that's a good decision.
And it's like the reason so many developers right now are flattening their games out to Quest is it's not rocket science. It's that for the first time ever, developers are able to make money off VR because of the Quest. I mean, that's sad but true. It's more financially sound than PC VR. So I as much as I can't stand games that are getting flattened out on the Quest, I understand it for the developer's sake. It's like we got to do this or we sink. And so, I have sympathy. We were coming from a very lucky and privileged position that we had the option to say, hey, we can split this because we have the resources to do it, and split our team and have like new hires that are going to work on this and stuff. But, not every studio is in that luxury kind of, situation. So that's the thing. So anyway, the PC players were loving that. That was great. There was, there's always one or two skeptics who think the worst, and they think, you're changing direction now to flatten. It's like, man, how many times can I say this before it's just I'm repeating myself? So, you'll always have skeptics, but I think we've proven that this is not the case. So that's good, those guys. And then for the Quest guys, I mean, they were just so happy to have the game in the Quest. And we made it like really clear from the start that like, hey, look, this is a good Quest game, but this is not PC VR. And if you're trying to compare PC VR and Quest, just, go home because they're two very, like it's a mobile headset, and we squeezed every drop out of it we could. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a mobile headset versus a, beefy PC, decked out specs. It's just not going to be the same. And it's been amazing. The Quest players are like, yep, we get it. And it's like, that's great.
I think for people like me and Stratus, we're just happy that we're able to experience it standalone.
I can't afford the
we're not
Alienware PC and
totally.
Unfortunately, we're not PC VR players just because we don't have the huge decked out gaming rig. So for us to be able to experience this is huge.
And I didn't see anything wrong with the.
No, I saw some complaints about like frame dropping. I personally did not experience it.
That's awesome. And I mean, it was exactly for people like you. It was for people that don't have PCs. It's like, sure, I would look to play Blade and Sorcery on like the highest spec that's completely possible. But what if I just literally don't have that? It's like, well, okay, well, here's a second option. And this is made for the Quest. So it's like, it's not just a flattened out game. It's actually made for the Quest. And this will run on your specs. So is it really any different than if you had a PC, but you don't have a great graphics card and you have to play a game on like medium graphics or something? You know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
It's kind of that.
I'm not bitching. I have I really don't have any complaint.
Yeah.
So something I'm dying to ask. You mentioned new hires for the Nomad version and everything like that. How many people work on this game?
Oh man, because it's changing so rapidly. Because actually, we have like 3 people starting next week. so
whatever the number is, we got to add it by 3.
Yeah, I think
estimate.
It's approximately 20 now, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but I think it's approximately 20. But that includes me and Cosby, and it's a little bit deceptive, though, because we had a lot of people who worked kind of like contract-based or part-time. Like, we have one guy who's working like literally 1 day a week. So it's not like 20 busy bees.
Yeah, not 20 full-time.
20's respectable, though.
Yeah.
I
I think in full-time, including myself and Cosby, I think there's about, what is there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm probably forgetting something. So 6 or 7, okay. I think, working full time. Yeah,
that's fair. That's a good sized VR team. We talk to a lot of teams
Singles.
that are 1 to 5
2.
is what we see a lot. 1 to 5.
Right. Yeah. And that makes total sense. And like I say, we were just real lucky because the PC players who supported us so greatly during the early days. I mean that gave us the resources we needed, and so real lucky. But it's going really good, and it's like we're entering like a new stage for Warpfrog, the studio, and like we're getting into like a stage I just never even thought of, like HR and stuff, like like having like interviews with people and having employees and
at a certain
it's
point
weird.
It becomes like realer than real,
it's very weird. Yeah, very weird. And everyone is remote, so we got people all over the world. There's it's me in the States, but we've got a guy in Wales. There's France, guy in Japan, Australia, Brazil, I think it was, as one, and just dotted all over. It's really, really cool.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, 2022 is a great time.
That's wicked.
Yeah. It all kind of worked out with the shift to remote. I mean, that kind of just worked in our favor. Like, it's just going to happen like that.
Well, it's more cost efficient than moving everybody to one studio.
Oh yeah, and everybody living in some high.
Do you know the
place or...
getting at each other's nerves because you see each other in the office all day. Like, oh my god, I'm so sick of this guy.
I don't want to see Jim again.
He leaves his coffee stains everywhere, and I'm just so sick.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed that people can work remotely and all the puzzle pieces can come together at the end of the day, and it works. That's the part that.
Yeah. Well, we're very relaxed about it. Like we like myself and Cosby, we had plenty of jobs before Warpfrog, and so we're trying to do something a little bit different. Like, we don't believe in like micromanaging people. We don't believe in like just being on anyone's back. So we just kind of let everyone do their own thing and trust they're doing a good job because we hope that we've hired the right people, and so everyone could just work on their own time. Do their own thing, and then we all just collect on Discord and exchange, what's been worked on, what are you working on, what are you working on, okay, these things are ready, we kind of go to the next step and stuff like that. But we're not big on like, just like backseat driving people.
No,
so for that reason, we really want to have like the most passionate people on the team, because the most passionate people will be eager, they'll be excited, they'll be like, hey, look what I did, and then everyone's like, that's awesome, and so That's what we're really trying now with hiring.
I think that's freaking cool.
So,
you're gonna.
By the way, do you know what's mad? The maddest thing is there was a Warpfrog studio, a physical location. It lasted about 1 week, and then COVID happened the next week. So the studio shut down. So they moved all the computers into the studio. It was in France, and there was about 3 French employees, and if like 1 or 2 actually moved to the town that Cosby's from, like actually like drove across France to be in his town because this is where they're going to work. And then like the next week the studio shut down. I was like,
it sucks, but looking at the big picture, maybe it worked out for the better for what was able to be done. So I mean,
that's it, yeah.
And you got people working for the company that actually are passionate about the game, so they're probably working double the amount they would if they're being
totally, totally. It's like with the time zones, everyone's all over the place, and I always feel so bad whenever I message someone, because I'm the worst time zone because I'm PST. But I'll message someone and they'll message me right back, and then I'm like, oh my god, it's like 7 p.m. my time. What is it their time in France? And I always feel so bad, when I forget that, because I hate those bosses that message on a Saturday or something like that at work. It's like it's the last thing you want to do is talk about that, but everyone's always cool about it. But I always feel really bad about that.
All right, so I got how did you actually get involved with Warpfrog? Like what brought you
myself?
Yeah, and what's your background in gaming too? Like how exactly that. How did you get involved in the
what was the process?
It's a crazy story. It's a crazy story.
I'm ready.
So okay, brace yourself. So let me see, how far back can I go with this? I guess I'll start here. So I moved across country to California for no reason other than I just wanted to try something new. And so me and my friend and my girlfriend, we moved across country. We didn't have any jobs lined up. It was the craziest thing I'd ever done. And we just arrived in California. And I was a video editor by trade. That's my profession. That's why I do all the trailers and stuff. And showed up in Los Angeles and then realized there's a million video editors out here. Like no one is going to hire me because everyone is a video editor. And so that was really hard. So when you're unemployed and living in Los Angeles where your rent is like, almost $3,000, there's nothing quite like that to light a fire underneath you, So I was like, God, how do I make money? How do I make money? How do I make money? So I used to review stuff for Amazon, and then that shut down. They stopped that practice. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll start a new review service, but this time I'll do video games. Why not video games? Like I love video games. So I was like, I'll review Steam games, and I'll make a puppet show about it. Because I used to have this old puppet kind of podcast show I used to do with my friends. So I had this puppet just sitting there. I was like, I'll do a puppet because I don't like being on camera. So I was like, this will be my thing. A Steam review channel with puppets. so that was grand. And I did that for about 1 year, 2 year, scraping by on like ad revenue for my YouTube channel and stuff. And it was really, 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 really hard. And the one thing you'll find is that when you're kind of like a smaller guy, no big dev wants to hear you or talk to you. They want to give keys out to like, PewDiePie and stuff, guys with like millions of subs. So when you're like a little YouTuber, you kind of are just scraping from the bottom, reviewing the games that no one's ever heard of and stuff like that. So I made it, my little niche was finding these little games that no one's ever heard of that are awesome. That was my little thing. And it was going to be an anti-hyperbole, anti-sensationalist, like no clickbait YouTube channel. That was my shtick too. Because I'm a little bit older and I hate that kind of like culture with like young YouTubers. So I was doing this for about 2 years, and then I was on Reddit one day and I saw this thread, and it was a guy who was bemoaning like, God, there's no good VR melee games. Like, what's the deal with that? And I completely agree. Everything before Blade and Sorcery to me felt like Wiggle Sword, like where you just, it's weightless and it feels like you're flapping a feather around. No physics. So I was reading this thread, whatever. And then down the thread was a little comment by Cosby. And he said, I'm making a game. And it's like a fantasy medieval game. And it has like a kind of unique take on, melee combat. and the guy was, and I don't want to be mean because sometimes I tell the story and I feel like I'm being a bit mean about it because maybe I'm taking the guy up wrong, but the guy was like a little bit ungrateful, or ungracious in his reply to Cosby, and he was like something, I'm paraphrasing, but he was something like sorry, I don't play indie games or something like that aren't on Steam or something like that. Something like that. Yeah, it's a little bit ungracious because Cosby was like, if you want to try it, I'll give you a key. And then Cosby was like, it is on Steam and stuff. And the guy was like, said something like, well, it better be good or something like that. Or it's just something like ungracious. So I just slipped in. I was like, hey, like I'm a little VR YouTuber. I love finding hidden gems. I was like, I'll play your game. And he's like, great. So he sent me a key. This was in 2018. This was about summer 2018. Sent me a key and I played it. And the first thing I saw was the way it used to be in the old days, you used to start off looking in the mirror. And I looked, you're looking at your own avatar in the mirror and you're moving your arms. So you can see the avatar moving his arms. I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's neat. That's neat. And I picked up a weapon. I was swinging it. I was like, oh, just like kind of like a little bit of kind of physics lag and stuff. And I was like, that's cool. That's really neat too. And then I went into the arena. And I just remember that first enemy coming out, and they looked real PlayStation 2 graphics back in the day. But the first enemy came out, and I remember stabbing the guy, and I was just like, oh my God. It was like nothing I had ever experienced before. It was the tactile sensation of it. You know what I mean? It was almost like you had feedback. The blade goes in, and it kind of, I just had never seen anything like it. And I was just blown away. And then when I was messing with the, swords, I was like, how to find the hitbox. And you got to remember too, this was 2018. There was nothing like this back then, okay? Because even Boneworks, which is probably the closest thing to Blade and Sorcery, Boneworks had not been announced. They were in development themselves, but they had not announced it, and they had no interaction with Blade and Sorcery and vice versa. So it was a year later when Boneworks came out. So you're talking, this was cutting edge for the time. And you had Nimsoni, but the same thing. It was like he wasn't really out there pushing his game and stuff. So yeah, this was revolutionary to me. So I fucking ran back to Discord and messaged Cosby straight away. And I was just like, mate, I was like, you have something. Like, this is special. And if you know Cosby, he's a very humble guy, and he's not really big into publicity, and he's not big into, blowing his own trumpet and stuff. So he was like, thanks. It's not done. There's so much to do, and blah blah blah. And I remember saying to him, I was like, please let me advertise this for you. Let me put it on my YouTube. I was like, I'm a small little YouTuber, but I was like, let me push this out there. And he's like, nah. Like it's not ready. And I said to him, I was like, I've played so many indie gems, and they've all had the same issue where they don't have marketing, and it's like, they have this amazing game, and then it's like they don't do any marketing. They launch thinking that everyone's going to flock to them when they launch the game, but it doesn't work like that. So they launch and straight out the gate they tank, and then they're doing the cash up. They're trying to market after the game's release, and it's like, I was just begging them. I was like, please. I was like, don't make the same mistake. I was like, you have something so special. And man, I badgered them for about 3 months, I think it was. Like, I was super active in the Discord. We had a private beta Discord, or alpha Discord. And I was like one of the main guys giving feedback in this game because I was just obsessed with it, just playing. And then finally, after about 3 months, convinced him. And he's like, okay. He's like, you can do a little Reddit thread, and you can post some screens and stuff like that, and some loops. And I was like, brilliant. So I think it was about end of summer 2018. I posted my Reddit thread. I posted on the subreddits Oculus and Vive, I think it was. And it blew up. It went super nuclear. And I had so many like inboxes that day. It hit the front page of Reddit. Everyone was like, taking the images of it and like spreading it and stuff like that. And the number one question of everyone was like, when the hell is this out? Like, I want this. And I was so vindicated. And I remember Cosby was just I think that was the first time he really saw he had something special too, because the amount of people who just wanted this. And the way I pitched it to everyone too was that full melee physics. That was the sales pitch for me. And I was like, this game has, because I needed a way to sum up what this crazy experience was. You really need to play it to understand it. But my way of doing it was like full melee physics. And then people are like, well, what is full melee physics? And why doesn't every game have it and stuff like that? And then and that's how it went from there. And so then I started reviewing it on my YouTube. And the situation there was, Blade and Sorcery is one of those kind of games that you can just completely pimp out on YouTube. Like you could clickbait it to the high hills. You could run the most sensationalist stuff. And by the way, YouTubers do, like thumbnails that are nothing to do with the game, but enough to make you click on it, and all that junk I hate. So I had said to Cosby at the time, I was like, if you're not real big on publicity and you don't care about that either way, let me do it. Let me cover the game. My whole shtick is that I'm not going to pimp it out. Like, I'm going to be honest. I call it my warts and all policy, which is like, this is the problem in the game, but it's being addressed. Like, we're going to fix that. So, so I covered it on the game, and we didn't let any other YouTubers play during the early days. And that drove some people crazy, because we had YouTubers who were in the millions of subs, and they were coming and saying, hey, like, what's up? Like, I'll take a copy of that game. And then we were like, no, sorry, like, it's not for review yet. And they were like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, do you not realize I have like 1 million subs? And we were like, yeah, but we're not doing it that way. We're doing it a different way. And it drove some people crazy. And like, some people, are saying like, well, what's up with this little pirate puppet guy, with his 1,000 subs? Like, how come he's reviewing it? But our whole thing was, we didn't want to pimp the game out. We didn't want to lie about the game. We didn't want any YouTuber to accidentally create false hype about the game, and we wanted to be honest. And so then this kind of had a strange kind of effect, because then when the game did go live in beta, every YouTuber in the world wanted to play it, because it was like the rarest substance for them, so everyone wanted to dive on it. So then we just had this explosion of media, and that was kind of how it blew up. And so then I became community manager for about a year, and I used to do all the marketing. And then in the past year, I quit my day job, and I've gone full time as producer.
Congratulations!
So that's how it all came.
That's freaking awesome.
I know that's a long story, but it's a long history.
That's an awesome story.
I think it's exactly what people would want to hear.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good. Okay, that's good.
So
what a journey.
Right. I'll say, when I fire up Blade and Sorcery, one of the biggest things about it is I see so much potential in it. As a big RPG fan, right? Right now, it's the leading physics simulator, like combat simulator, by far. Especially once we get into mods, which we'll get more into after. I see so much potential with it. So what is the end vision with this game, and what are some features that we can expect maybe in the near future? Obviously, the end vision is going to be much different than what's coming in a year.
So here's the whole thing about. Here's something that people don't really know or think about when they think of Blade and Sorcery. When you think about Blade and Sorcery, you think about it like it's a sword fighting, Magic VR game, like an action sword fighting game, and that's not crazy, because you look on the Steam page and stuff, and it says, action sword fighting fancy. And in fact, even our little tagline, VR, melee fighting and stuff like that, or VR melee sword fighting or whatever it is. So that's not crazy, but technically, Blade and Sorcery is not that game. It's actually a simulation game in disguised as a sword fighting game. And that's why every other game that tries to kind of like mimic the Blade and Sorcery formula with physics has a hard time, because they can't get out of the mindset of thinking about it like an action game. But it's not an action game; it's a simulator. It's like think of it like a flight simulator, okay, or like American Truck Sim or something like that. Or maybe not American Truck Sim, but like a flight simulator or something like that. So when the Blade and Sorcery engine was done, it was built from the ground up to be a simulator sandbox first, and then secondly, the swords and the magic and all that stuff is tacked on, and then that's how it became an action game. So that's why you have all those little things you can do in Blade and Sorcery, the small things that no other game could do, like
choke slam your opponent.
choke slam your opponent. Yeah, grab him by the throat, you jump down a well, you slam him, or chop off a guy's head, you put that in a bucket, and then you kick the bucket off the side. That's not programmed into the game. That's the simulation sandbox in effect. You're the one who said, I'm going to put this head in a bucket and kick it off a cliff. We didn't say that. We just said, here's the simulation.
It's possible.
You do what you want. It's possible, yeah. So it's up to you. It's your imagination is the limitation. So that's why it's a little bit different. So on that basis, the end goal for Blade and Sorcery will be this, progression mode that's going to tie into dungeons and stuff like that. There's going to be skills and loot and all that kind of stuff. It'll be far more gamey, in that kind of sense. But that's not where it ends, you see, because we're thinking the Blade and Sorcery engine is the foundation for all Warpfrog games in the future. So it'll be the same simulation, but instead of swords and magic, who knows? Could be anything. Could be guns, could be sci-fi, could be literally anything. And it'll still feel like Blade and Sorcery. You'll have all that same kind of tactileness and physics that you get with Blade and Sorcery, but the wallpaper is different. It'll look like a new setting. There'll be new features, new little things you can do. So I'm so excited. It's like time can't pass fast enough for me because we already are thinking about other games we could do in the future. Like we're brainstorming, and it's going to be so exciting. The worst part is done. The foundation is done,
No, that's genius. 2022 to 2030 is going to be huge for Warpfrog.
Oh my god.
It could be. It really could be. Especially because we're doing great with just Blade and Sorcery. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, because this is just the beginning. You know what I mean? That's the best part. This is game number 1. That's the best part. So, like, what will game number 2 be like? What will game number 3 be like? It's just great.
No, that's about the best news I think I could have heard regarding the future of not just Blade and Sorcery, but actually, it took me about 5 minutes of playing to realize that this is more simulation than anything else, because that's when that evil side of me seemed to come. I'm like,
you did like 1 or 2 quick runs through a dungeon, and then you went into the arena.
Yep.
And then you got.
Then I was posting pics of
then you got violent
people and
stabbing them in spikes, just bonking their head off about 100 times,
beating a dude with his own arm. Oh
yeah, that's so funny.
It was just strange to see my progression to that side was
to the dark side.
It was pretty quick.
Do you know the weird thing about it is Cosby himself is not even a big violence guy. He's not like the guys from like Blood Trail, that video game. Like those guys are like real into like gore and snuff, and so they're trying to do like violence. But Cosby, it wasn't even trying to do violence. It just is inherently violent because of that kind of weird tactile effect. Like when you slam a guy's head in a spike, it's just like, it's just this weird feeling. And then the second thing is, it's so violent because, hey, that's on everyone else. Like, because as I say, like we give you the tools, but no one's saying you should, chop the guy's head off and stick in the pike. No one's saying that, but people do it.
Yeah,
that's you. That's you. That's on you.
Has anybody not? That's what.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say was that there's it doesn't look great for humanity.
It's like, but you play GTA, right? You play Grand Theft Auto.
Exactly.
You're going to do things that you would never do.
Exactly.
I think we admitted that.
Exactly. Actually, that's a great comparison because you're right. You could play GTA, you could go to speed limits in GTA, but no one does, right? Yeah.
Beat up strangers, hog tie them, pour gasoline. I'm never going to do that in real life.
Yeah.
But
Red Dead Redemption.
Hog tie somebody on the back of a
You're
horse.
Totally right.
But I've always wondered if maybe the immense violence is part of the reason that Cosby stays so anonymous. But nonetheless, what is your personal play style? How do you play? Do you have favorite weapons, favorite mods specifically?
My play style, much like my YouTube videos, was this is a dream come true for me. It's like, playing as a kid with sticks out the back garden, sword fighting. So I love the whole swashbuckle kind of style. Like, that's like my favorite thing. I don't care about the most efficient way to fight or the most tactical or the most realistic. I just like jumping around and just swashbuckling. Parry this guy and throw your sword, sticks in his stomach, pull a mace to your hand, clonk this guy. And I just love that. I just love how crazy it all is. So that's my big thing. And actually, my YouTube followers, they used to always laugh in the comments saying my commentary over playing was just a bunch of like exertion sounds, like hoo ha 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 hoo ha, stuff like that. But In weapons, my favorite weapon is no longer in the game. I used to love the falchion. That was my favorite weapon, and I don't even know why it was removed from the game. Now I love the short sword and the long sword. They're probably my favorite. I like the spear. I'm wishing a day will come when we can add a bullwhip into the game. That would be my favorite thing.
That'd be nice.
I'm just big like Indiana Jones fan, and I just I would love that.
No, that'd be.
And then in mods, actually, there is a bullwhip mod, not perfect, but it's the best he can do. Given that he's modding with his hands tied behind his back. I was enjoying that recently. Outer Rim Star Wars mod. I mean, Jesus, that's
how do you go wrong with lightsabers? That's my personal favorite. Oh man,
and the amount of just effort that modder puts into that is, I consider that like an expansion pack to the game. It's so crazy. It's so well done and it's so well polished, perfectly suited to the Blade and Sorcery formula, which again goes back to that whole thing. It's because it's a simulator. So a lot of things you're going to find in the future fit really well with this engine we have. But Outer Rim is amazing. I love Medieval Mega Pack. That's the mod with like 100 weapons in it, or 200 weapons or something crazy. I love that mod, and what's cool about that mod too is it adds weapons to the enemy, so you get a nice variety. I'm not sure if that mod's on Nomad actually. Now that I think about it, I think it might be.
I was just checking the mod list this morning. I think it might be. I think I saw medieval weapons.
I think very recently.
I don't know if it's the same exact or.
Yeah, let me put that up as I'm just chatting here. But yeah, that's a great one. I know the big question amongst the Nomad community right now is when is scripted mods going to arrive? And what that is basically any mod that has like a coding aspect to it. Like, for example...
quests or something like that?
Not so much, more like, let's say you have a lightsaber and you push a button and the modder has it, so you push the button and the lightsaber goes and turns on. Okay, that kind of stuff. Like that would be like a coded effect, like so that kind of stuff. The problem with Nomad at the moment is it just doesn't allow for those kind of mods. So as a result, the most complex mods haven't made it across the Nomad, including Outer Rim, for example. And we are working on that. So that's the biggest one. That's the biggest question one. I'm just getting lashed out of it with messages from people being like, do you have any idea? Do you have any idea when this is happening? Do you have any idea when it's coming out? Do you have any idea? And I keep telling people like, no, we don't. And they don't have any ballpark because it's a troubleshoot type of issue. So as soon as it's shot or whatever you say, then it's done. But how can you possibly tell when that'll be? It's like, it's like you're trying to answer a riddle. Well, how long will it take you to answer the riddle?
Yeah, you guys have so much on your table right now.
Yeah, it's like, when the riddle is answered, it's answered. So I promise everyone that when I find out when scripted mods coming, I'll let everyone know. But the good news is we're working on it.
Yeah,
so,
you're not ignoring it. It's
totally.
It's on the list.
Totally. No. So hoping for that at the moment.
Well, I can't wait for more features in this game to come out. Just for the modding community to go crazy. So, example,
ridiculous.
Once you guys have skill progression, you guys have quests, and you know the Outer Rim guy is gonna go add those to his, or somebody else is going. You're gonna go be able to be a Jedi through skill progression. I'm gonna go lose my whole personal life.
Man, it's so great, and we're trying to make it as moddable as possible too. That's the thing. Like, there's sometimes you see not like always, but sometimes you see like devs of games, like flat games and stuff. And they're scared, I think a bit of modding communities, and maybe they see it like competition, maybe, or maybe that a mod says something about their game, like because you get mods that are like improved, blah blah, and maybe developers like, well, what do you mean improved? It's perfect as it is, So so some studios, they might see it as a challenge to them, but we never had that attitude because Cosby himself was a modder before he was a developer. And I'm obsessed with mods. Like, mods are why I play PC. So we see it the complete opposite way, in fact. We see it like modders are incredible. They work for free on their own free time. Like, that is mental. And all they do is they do it just for the cred. That's it. Just so people are like, hey, awesome mod. And they're like, thanks, dude. Like, how good can you get? And we see it too as like modders add a ton of value to a game.
No, I don't think developers can be offended by it. Look at Bethesda games, one of the most popular studios in the world.
Absolutely.
Their games are so moddable, and that's what makes them. The modders go in. They release a game full of bugs. Let's be honest. I love Bethesda.
Yeah.
They release a game full of bugs and quality of life issues that exist in every one of their games, and then the modding community comes in and goes,
"We can do this.
We're gonna." And it's not that they're doing it better. It's just as developers, you guys got so much on your plate.
And when you think of Skyrim, you kind of think of mods, don't you?
Like that's what makes the game so good.
That's part of the package. Yeah, that's part of the package.
It adds so much more playtime. I don't know if you've ever played like Mountain Blade.
I love it. Yeah, love it.
With no mods, you don't get that same playtime. So all you're doing as a developer by allowing mods is you're increasing the amount of time people are going to spend in your game.
And how is that a bad thing? Exactly. It's like you have a guy who says, I'm going to work on this game. I'm going to make free content for my fellow players. I'm going to release it for free. How can you have any problem with that? Right. Like, that is the greatest thing ever. And we have an insane mod community. Like, on Nexus, I actually haven't checked it recently, but I think we were like number 12 or something on Nexus, which is completely bananas because, first of all, we're tiny compared to flat games. Second, we're a VR game, and yet we're one of the most modded games there is.
Yeah,
how crazy is that?
If you didn't have mods, you probably wouldn't have the subreddit and the Discord and the community following.
Reddit is, it's like, they might as well call it Blade and Sorcery.
Yeah.
Anytime I sign into Reddit, I swear to God, it's like video after video after video after video. I'm like,
and there's so many viral videos of it. It's like
totally. And this is it. So that's why it's like, we recognize how amazing the mods are. Like, I enjoy playing them all the time. So we're trying to make the game as moddable as it possibly is. Just short of releasing it like as an open source, So we try to make it just as moddable as possible. So like, when you guys were talking about progression mode and skills and all that stuff, totally, like, all that is in mind. And the same thing with the creatures. We revealed that we're going to have custom creatures in the game, and so same deal. Try to make that as moddable as possible for modders, so they can make their own custom creatures in the game. So imagine that.
I look at modders as almost like some of the people. I mean, it's a resume to an extent because there used to be. I mean, I'm going way back, probably more than 15 years, but there were games that were modded, and if you saw that name of the person drop it, you were on it. So I was just assuming,
dude,
to like some sort of tech career got noticed by somebody because the talent is real.
But, man, you're so right. In fact, we hired a bunch of our modders to join our team.
That's awesome.
Because it's like totally.
Yeah, why have the ego and go, oh my God, they're doing something better than me? Screw them. No, if they're doing something good that you're not able to,
hire them.
Yeah, pay them.
Yeah, totally.
They obviously enjoy it.
Oh, that's an awesome mentality.
Yeah.
And with custom creatures, you're telling me I can face Darth Vader if somebody makes it?
You could maybe even crazier things. Like there's one guy,
a dragon?
I think he's the first dragon. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think he's the first guy to make a custom creature, and he's working on like a drake at the moment. It's crazy.
That's for good.
So the lifespan, I feel like we're going to enter a second, modern renaissance. When modders really get their teeth sank into these custom creatures. There's no documentation at the moment, so that's the biggest hindrance for them. But when we get that out to them and they get modern custom creatures, oh man, we're going to see crazy shit. Like, skeletons and stuff, orcs maybe. There's one guy who's doing like a Lord of the Rings total conversion mod. Like, yes, like give me that. That would be amazing.
All right, so here's a good question, because Scruffles had mentioned it before. VR is exploding right now. The progression for the next 10 years is probably going to be insane with technology coming out. What's the best advice you think you could give someone who's probably younger and going, I mean, back in the day it was like, oh, I want a flat screen program or code or make Flash games. That was pretty popular. So what's the best advice you'd give somebody who's like, I want to get into the VR programming and do a game?
Mm-hmm. As like a developer.
Yeah, because it's a smaller market, overall, but it's an exploding market. So
yeah, would you recommend college, Unity tutorials, or is it a little out of your field as the community manager?
Well, I'll tell you something. The one thing I'd say, okay, is that you would be shocked how small the talent pool is in VR right now. So if you're someone who's coming out and you're like a good talented guy and you want to work in the VR space, I think you have a really good chance at being snapped up by one of these VR studios, because it's a bit like the Wild West right now. Like everyone who's working in the video game industry, they're also, the overwhelmingly flat screen game. So when we were hiring like crazy, and the majority of interviews I was doing with people was like, no, I've not played Blades and Sorcery. No, I don't know what Blades and Sorcery is. No, I'm not really into VR. And that, it's like, that kind of sucks, because it's like, well,
not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not so great. Like, so if you were someone who came in and you're like, hey, I know, say, Unity or Unreal sometimes, and I'm obsessed with VR, I recommend to those people, let that be known. Let your passion for VR be known, because if we're developing VR, you better believe that we're passionate about it, because we have everything going against us. Like, the market is small. It's really hard to make money. You know what I mean? So if you're a VR developer, you can be sure that VR developer is obsessed with VR. So if you're an employee, a potential employee, you should make sure you communicate you're also obsessed with VR. And I think that's the biggest advice I could give for being hired. And then if you're going to go out and make your own game, I get this question all the time, because people always message me saying, what is the trick? Like, as if there's a trick. Like, what is the trick to market?
What's the magic?
Yeah, what is it? And it's like, the funniest thing is, as stupid as this is, the trick is that there's no trick. That's the trick. The trick is to be
hardworking, put time
open.
into it.
Yeah, be open with your community. Be honest with your community. Don't bullshit your community, and don't fuck over your community. That's the other thing. And a community building is a huge component of VR games, because we don't have the benefit of like normal flat games, where it's like, you've got whatever, 10 million people are going to just randomly come by your Steam page, and you might get sales. We don't have that luxury, so we have to go out and build our communities, and the only way to build communities is to engage with them. So that's the big thing I always say to people. I always say to them too, that if you can, hire a community manager. I know that's really hard if you're like a single developer, but if you have like a mate or something who's like good at that, like, just call in a favor, because I always think it's a bad idea if a developer is his own community manager, because I think they're a bit too
in the
involved.
Too close in the
it's like their child. Yeah, it's like something about their kid. Yeah.
So and the internet is, you'll always get salty comments out of nowhere. So someone comes along with some salty comment, and then a developer who's very passionate about the amount of work he's put in his game will say something, but that shit sticks forever. Like he says that, and then that's out there forever. And it might have just been a fleeting moment of anger for him, but now it's there forever. And you get painted with things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a community manager acting as a little buffer, that is great. And I also another thing, by the way, I always say this, okay, the community manager shouldn't be some kind of like pit bull. He shouldn't be like defending the developer. He should be the middle ground, communicating developers' thoughts to the fans thoughts to the developer. So instead of developer just absorbing some comments like, this game sucks and I hate you, the community manager can soften it and say, hey, some fans are upset about blah, blah, blah. I just think it's smoother. So that's a big thing, community building. And then this is the golden grail of marketing, is that you gotta have a shtick. You gotta have something that you're selling that no one else is selling. And I think that's really hard for a lot of developers, because they work on something for maybe a year or two, and if they were being hand on heart honest about their game, can they really say that the game has something unique or novel that they're offering? Because at the end of the day, consumer has hundreds of choices. Even in VR, the consumer has a bunch of choices. So why should I buy your little game and not this other game? What do you have that some other VR games doesn't have? Maybe a more established VR game doesn't have, And that's a really hard question, because developers work on their game for years and they feel very strongly about it. But, at the end of the day, if I'm just a consumer buying a product, I don't care how hard you've worked on a game. And that's hard. That's hard to hear, but it's true. So you got to think about it. You got to think, what is the innovation that your game is bringing? Otherwise, if it's just like a clone of a different game, why would a person buy a clone? They would just buy the real thing, So
that's about the fairest answer you could give.
And I think sometimes that is really smart to have somebody who's not the developer be the community manager. Sometimes it's hard. Yeah. It's hard for a developer to see what's a legitimate complaint and what is just internet trolling and
and developers should focus on
developing.
Yeah, but I say that tongue in cheek because half the developers we've talked to from App Lab are 1 to 3 studios, so it's like
they're doing everything.
Their hustle, their hustle at that moment is like, of course, they'd probably love to have a community man, especially a good one. Go out there
Well, I think we see a lot of games though. They build these Discord communities. I see a lot of even App Lab games have 300-500 people on their Discord. Mm-hmm. You find that one passionate guy who loves your game, and case in point, you,
the Baron.
That was exactly
so
me.
It doesn't always have to be a paid thing right away either. There's some people who just love that shit.
Totally. That was it. Yeah, that was literally me. I just loved it so much. And again, why did I love it? Because it had some innovation no other game had. Mm-hmm. So if your game is that game and it has something that no other game has, you will find those people who are like, I just want to be part of this, no matter what. And there you go. And I just think it adds a ton of value to have a community manager. And you know what? I think the fans like it too, because I carried over my same YouTube philosophy to community management, which was
no clickbait.
Just no clickbait.
Honest.
Yeah.
No bullshit. No lies.
That's true. But no, the other thing I was going to say was that I do my damnedest to respond to every single comment I see. And the reason is because I think in this age of internet, we all kind of forget that we're real people. We're all just our user handles. And I respond to every single comment, because even the mean ones, okay, because I want them to know that there's a real person on your side, and second, I know that you're a real person, and I acknowledge you, even if all I'm acknowledging is you saying, "Hey, you're horrible and I hate you," and then I type back, "Really sorry to hear it. That really hurt my feelings." And then you'll find a lot of time that people is like, "Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I was just having a tough day." And then I'll respond, "Hey, no problem, man. It's all good." And it's like little things like that add a lot. Or someone says, they leave you a comment saying, I think you should add blah, 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 blah. Even just a little comment to say, "Hey, cool idea, man," or, "Oh, that's cool. I hadn't thought about that," or something like that. It just goes a long way, I think, for people. And they feel like they're being heard and acknowledged. And I think that's important when you're building communities.
No, I think that just adds to one of the reasons why the community for this game is so freaking huge.
Yeah, and what you said is honest. You go on your Discord, you go on your subreddit, you see you posting, you see you responding to comments, critiques, anything. You're always seeing the Baron, You're always there. So
people always say about I'm always repeating myself, which I am. I'm always answering the same questions again and again. But I try not to be salty about it, and I'm never mean to people about it, because I always try and give people the benefit of the doubt, which is that not assuming that everyone is like, evil, or not that everyone is out to cause trouble or everyone's a jerk or anything like that. So if someone comes along and they post, "Hey, how do I mod Nomad?" or something like that, it's like, okay, well, there's the auto mod is telling you. There's a bunch of pinned threads telling you. There's like a million other threads talking how to mod with pictures and blah, 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 blah. But I'm going to come along anyway, and I'm going to talk to you like this has never been spoken before. And the reason is because that could just be some kid who came in and he's just excited to play the game, and he's not big into Reddit, and he just comes in, he just wandered in. He's like, "Hey guys, how do I mod this game?" He's full of beans. And it'd be easy to get mad at him, because you're like, "Dude, why didn't you just search? Why didn't you just look up the answer yourself?" But try not to think of it that way. Just try and think of it as the best intentions. He's just some excited guy who's just coming in, can't wait to play, can't wait to mod. And so let's make this a nice experience for him, So that's awesome. where I'm coming with that.
No, that's really cool. And I kind of off-topic question, but you mentioned a little bit before, working with the Oculus QA team and all that. Overall, what's it been like to work with Oculus through the whole process of getting it onto the Quest? Have they been very communicative? Has it kind of been a lot left in the dark, or has it been nothing but positive?
Yeah, it was good. It was a really positive experience. So we had first of all, everyone I worked with personally has been super nice. They're just people, like just normal, VR enthusiasts. I say that because when we think of like Facebook, we think of like big evil corporation. But at the end of the day, the people who are on the ground like working are just normal dudes. So that's cool. The QA team were great. They were really thorough, really polite, really civil and stuff. That was real nice. And then we had like a person rocked us who was kind of like our what would be the word, like kind of like touch base person. He was great. He was always kind of guiding us through and holding our hand, and he was awesome. And then I interacted a lot with the marketing people, because for the Connect and stuff like that, and they needed like a lot of like assets and stuff. Those guys were awesome too. Real civil, real kind, and real cooperative and stuff. So yeah, it was a good experience. It was a tough experience, because that QA is no joke. That's something. And if you went through it, you would understand why so many things are on App Lab. But the actual people working with, awesome, really, really nice.
No, that's
nothing but good experience with them.
That's awesome. So we're approaching an hour. I usually don't like to go too much over that. I know you guys' time is nice and short. I just have one or two more questions.
Valuable,
right? You guys are usually burning at beyond both ends. Talk about four ends, right? Just a couple things I like to ask. Pretty much everybody we interview. What was your first VR experience?
First VR experience, let me think about that. It was, I had DK2, and I don't know if it counts, but it was, do you remember the old DK2? It was like a little thing, it was like a room, and it was just like a little table in front of you, and it was like a plant, I think, or something like that. And I think that was the first like VR thing, and I was blown away. I just, I couldn't get over, like, I felt like I could tell, okay, this desk is 4 feet long, it's 3 feet wide, it's 3 feet off the ground. It's like my brain was just exploding with that. So that was the first thing that was literally the first thing I played. And then I think I played like a couple of demos and stuff like that, and I was like, that's amazing. The first thing I think I played where it knocked my socks off was, well, two things. Robo Recall, where I was like, this is, I can never, after playing that, I was like, I can never go back to a first-person shooter on flat ever again. And then the other one was Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. And I think that was the first game for me that I played where I thought to myself, VR can be something more than a gimmicky, like it doesn't have to be arcadey. Because that game was like a gun simulator. And I played that, and it's just like the amount of depth in it. Which maybe makes sense why I was so interested in Blade and Sorcery then, because that game kind of has that same vibe to it. But yeah, I played that, I was like, holy shit, I was like, this is crazy. Like, you can load in each bullet, it's like you can spin the chamber, you can toggle your safety on that. It just has all this small attention to detail. And that was when I was like, okay, there's more to VR than just like arcade experiences. This can be something bigger. So that would be it for me, I'd say.
No, that's freaking awesome. So, I just want to thank you again for your time. Real quick before we let you go, do you want to plug your YouTube channel, maybe the communities for Blade and Sorcery?
Yeah, sure. If you're trying to keep up with Blade and Sorcery news for PC anyway, Steam is always the place that we post like the latest news. But I always cross post them to the subreddit Blade and Sorcery. We're also on Twitter at Blade and Sorcery. And my YouTube, if anyone's interested, is The Baron on YouTube. And I used to do all games, but as of the last years, it's pretty much exclusively Blade and Sorcery because I work in the game so much that I just don't really have time to do videos anymore as a luxury. So that's where I would always post like Blade and Sorcery video news. So those would be the best places. And then the Discord, of course, which I can't think of the link for it. but if you Google Blade and Sorcery Discord, you'll find it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find it on the Reddit and the Steam page as well.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Totally.
I used to like to ask people, what other games do you guys play and what do you do in your spare time and stuff like that. But sometimes it's a dark question because it's like, I don't really have time to play other games. And unfortunately, I don't really have time for my hobbies right now. I'm just, doing everything. So we definitely appreciate, you taking an hour out of your time. And to our listeners, if you've played Blade and Sorcery, be sure to go on the store, drop it that 5-star review because it makes a huge difference. And if you haven't checked out Blade and Sorcery yet, I don't know what you're waiting on.
It'll bring the best of you. I promise you.
It'll bring out the best characters. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and thank you again to the Baron. Stay tuned for Wednesday. We're reviewing the slow-mo VR sword fighting game Iron Lights, and check us out then. Podcasting remotely can be a challenge. And when we first began interviewing developers, we ran into every headache imaginable.
From connection issues, to video lag, to sound quality performance, we knew there had to be a better platform we could use.
That's where Zencastr came in, allowing us to easily connect with guests all over the world. Zencastr is simple to use with no download needed. With studio quality sound, HD video recording, automatic post-production, automatic transcripts, and a cloud backup, Zencastr is the perfect solution for any remote podcast.
If you'd like to have the same easy experience that we did for all your podcasting and content needs, then make sure to go check out zencastr.com/pricing and enter the promo code Ruff Talk VR, and you'll save 30% off your first 3 months.
That's zencastr.com/pricing, promo code Ruff Talk VR. Zencastr, making your remote podcasting easy. Hey guys, Dscruffles here. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on whatever podcast platform you listen to. And definitely don't forget to check out our official subreddit and join us there at r/RuffTalkVR. There you can join a community of other podcast fans, join us for some podcast meetup games, get first scoop on new episodes, interact with us a little bit directly, and more. As well, be sure to check out our official podcast supporter link, the Buy Me a Coffee link you can find right in our show notes, where you can donate to the podcast either one time, multiple times, become a monthly supporter. That way you can help us on our journey to make podcasting a full-time gig so we can continue to bring you more great podcasting content. As well, be sure to visit the Kiwi Design link in our show notes as well, where you can go and shop for different Oculus Quest 2 VR accessories, whether it's knuckle straps, lens protectors, face shields, whatever. Kiwi has you covered. So again, visit the Kiwi Design link in our show notes, help support the podcast, and pick yourself up some sweet Oculus Quest 2 gear.